Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it, you already know. Like a torta with some snack habits. Bye, bye. This one's a trip. Let's get to the intro. Welcome back to the channel. And if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, make sure you go ahead and do that. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directing the direction of the dope content that I stay kicking. And I appreciate the support. I'm very humbled by it, man. Wow, que wow. Luis Enrique Vargas. Now, this is a man you don't play with, okay? This is an individual, and you can tell by the look in his eyes, the anguish, the hurt, the pain, the aggressiveness, right? This is why you don't talk about other people. You don't do bad things to other people, because at the end of the day, you do not know what their family thinks about it. You don't know what their homeboys from their neighborhood, how that's going to affect them, how they're going to feel. And you don't know when someone's on the verge of crashing out and just what they'll do because of something you allegedly done or did to a member of their family. This guy has a tremendously crazy story, and I'm about to tell it. So Luis Enrique Vargas sits in a jail cell in Los Angeles County Jail right now. Not for one, not for two, not for three, not for four murders. We could just go on and on and on, because the number rests on Sureno, on 13 unalivings. Coordinated, well thought out, planned, basically assassinations. That's exactly what this man is alleged to have done on behalf of his brother. Now, this man was incarcerated and found out through family members and friends that his brother was indeed targeted by rival gang members and executed. Now, this happens all the time. When you're in the game and you're gang banging, it seems like the thing to do. Pursue rival gang members to the point of death, and you go back and forth. Luckily, when I was young, we used to do the same damn thing, try to catch people slipping. They were trying to catch us slipping. You know what the crazy part was? And this is the facts and the truth. And not everybody and not everyone has the same story, but my story, thank God, was a little different. 9 times out of the 10, when we caught the rivals, everybody hesitated, myself included. There was plenty of times I was in situations where I could have got off where I was mad at, but there was a little hesitation. Because when you're talking that rah-rah shit with your homeboys cruising around, hunting, looking for the opposition, you got straps in the car, you're ready to handle business, anybody can get it. And usually the anybody always ends up being civilians or innocent people. But there's certain guys you're targeting, certain members that have talked shit about you, certain people that you just could live without, right? And then when you see them and you got an opportunity, everybody hesitates. Now, this isn't the same story for everyone, but thank God it was for me, or I'd be doing exactly what this guy's going to do, life in prison, possibly the death penalty. But for Luis Enrique Vargas, it was a whole different life. It was a whole different story. He lost his brother, and he was going to go out with a bang. You know, we've all told ourselves as ex-gang members, anything like, man, if I'm ever going back to jail for life, I'm right. And everyone says this. Or I'm ever at the end of my rope, I know I'm going to pass away or something, I'm taking a whole bunch of people with me. I'm going all out. It's easy to talk about it, but to actually do it, it takes a very rare psychotic individual to really do that, to pick up a hammer and go blam, blam. Not everyone is capable of taking another person's win. Not everyone is capable within the prison walls of stabbing someone. Most of the times people who do that stuff, it's because they're under duress. It's not because they took the initiative to go handle business. There are those rare breed that want to put in the work and are willing to do it regardless of the time they have over their head. They just want to be a part of something bigger than themselves, and they're dedicated, fully dedicated to their cause, and they handle their business. There are most of those dudes who do it on a professional tip. Hey, I'm going to defend the household, the casa, and handle my business against rival gang members or even my own people. And 99% of the time, it's within your own faction that the shit's being happened, that's being handled. Because let's keep it real, man. When do you really see rivals like North and South behind the walls in prison, or Crip and Blood, or whites and blacks, or whites and Southsiders, whites and Northerners really taking each other's win? It's a very rare occasion, and usually when that happens, it's because something popped off in that facility that just couldn't be discussed. But most of the time, it's going to be discussed, and the disrespect is going to be accounted for. And most of the people, those heads are going to roll, is going to be rolling at the hands of their own people. It's going to be black on black. It's going to be brown on brown. It's going to be north on north, south on south. That's just how it is. Removals, cleaning up your house. No one else is going to do it for you. You got to clean your own pad, okay? But the streets are a different animal and a different story. And when you're in the game, especially in Southern California, I've noticed, man, it's just a little different. You know, the animosity and the beef is tremendous. It's thick. A lot of these gangs and groups have been warring with rival factions or rival gangs for decades, for centuries in some form or fashion, right? And there's a lot of blood that's been spilt on behalf of one's gang. There's a lot of animosity, whether it started over a woman, money, disrespect, just being across the street. And that's the thing about Southern California in comparison to Northern California that's very different. In Northern California, most barrios are spread out. You have a barrio who control a whole side, like a west side, whatever. And then you have the east side, and then you have the north side, and they might not get along. But at the end of the day, within the Norteño movement, which is what I could speak on because that's what I was a part of, you know, there was that old school saying of not going at it with people that are the same as you, right? Doesn't mean red on red didn't happen and didn't happen quite frequently, but there was a time and a place for everything. And most things were handled behind the scenes because you already knew that if you got incarcerated and on your paperwork it said that you killed a rival Norteño gang member, you were probably going to get whacked. There was going to be repercussions for putting hands on another Northerner, period. That's how it is. Now, I'm not going to say it happens like that nowadays because there's a lot of red on red that seems to be happening. But back in the mid 90s, 96, 97, 98, there was El Norte law. There was something that was put out there where Norteños were to focus their attention on upstate Southerners who were invading the homeland. That's just it. Not that Southerners weren't already there, but they were starting to get deeper and deeper. Now, that's facts. This guy, Luis Enrique, decided because this rival gang took out his brother that he was going to methodically hunt each and every one of these guys that he knew were either involved or he thought were involved and unalive them. And he did exactly that, allegedly, right? 13 different men this guy is being alleged to have hunted down through social media, through the streets, through word on the curb, or however he did it. But each and every one of them methodically did he target and did he unalive. Now that's crazy. That's something different than what most gang members do. Usually when you lose a family member or you lose a close friend, a homeboy, someone, an old lady, someone you grow with, usually 9 times out of 10, you go hit the person responsible or people responsible. I know of a few stories where the target game was real. I'm going to tell you about the most recent one in San Jose. I'm not going to use the individuals' names. Those from San Jose know exactly who I'm talking about. But this individual was a high-ranking member of an organization and was actually out there allegedly running San Jose on behalf of that organization. He was the man, right? I heard about him in the past. I know exactly who he was. I did have some type of, I guess, not correspondence with him, but back in the days when I was an active gang member, I knew of him and I spoke to him on a couple of occasions, right? And he was really with the business, one of the nicest dudes I ever met, but with the business and well-loved, especially by the women and the ladies out there in San Jose. That's a fact, right? And this individual's son a few years ago was targeted by some Crips in San Jose, and they unalived his son. Now, I don't know if they knew exactly who they were going after and they targeted him for a specific reason. But at that specific time in San Jose, there was a lot going on between Norteños and Crips. I don't know if it's still happening like that, but I know the funk was on for various reasons. And this just ignited something that went crazy for about a year and a half in San Jose. When this kid, he wasn't a kid, he was a grown man, but he was young. He was this man's son. You know, when it's your son, it's always your kid. Was killed. This man didn't go on a rampage. He didn't go hitting every Crip moving, but there was word on the curb that Crips were no longer to be associated with in that type of fashion. And this man pulled up on the individual that was alleged to have killed his son and killed him right there downtown in San Jose, right in front of the courthouse, basically. Smacked him, right? That was his son. So I get it. It wasn't gang retaliation. It wasn't a Crip killed a Northerner or a Northerner killed a Crip, so we have to do it on behalf of the gang. This was more of a personal matter. And as a father, he felt that if for no other reason, his son's legacy was going to be lived through him, and he handled his business. He's now doing a life incarceration beef, and I'm sure he's firm in his beliefs of what he did that other dude deserved. Now, whether you believe it or not, and it's not cool, doesn't make him a gangster. He was a gangster before that. And those that know who I'm talking about, they know. Now, let me tell you about another situation that's just as crazy as this, right? When I was in the youth authority, there was a homeboy also from San Jose, which is a trip. San Jose is different, right? And this homeboy was very mellow, very quiet. We had actually rolled up together. When I left from NRCC, which was the reception, I was on dorm 1, he was on dorm 2. So we never had met up to that point, right? 2 different dorms. But we ended up catching the same bus. They sent 10 Northerners down. We were the second bus load ever to get there. They sent 10 of us down south. And I'm not going to lie, there was nerves, there was butterflies. Motherfucker was unaware of where they were going. You know, our whole philosophy was we need to get back up north to our stronghold. So we were going to have to either go out or go out in a blaze of glory. There was only 2 options there. You either are a sucker or you're out there to take out the suckers. It's up to you, right? I chose the latter. I chose, you know, I'm going to stand on mine. I was a youngster. I was crazy. I was all in the mix. I was hypnotized by the Norteño gang movement. And it was like, you know what? Fuck it, man. And people could think what they want to think about me. But anyone who's ever been locked up with me knows I was a totally different individual, especially when I was young. I was dumb, right? I thought I knew it all and I was willing to pursue it all. Anyways, I ended up meeting this guy and me and him hit it off. He was cool. I was always cool with a lot of homeboys from San Jose just based on, I looked up to San Jose. I knew that there was real hitters and their vaudevils had a long history. And it's just, you know, coming from the Central Valley, we got a lot of love for dudes from San Jose, Salas, Oakland, Frisco. It's the way it is, right? At least for me. I respected him. I got game. And so me and this dude were cool. He never hesitated to put in work. You never had to ask him twice. He was always there to back the homies' play. And so one day we end up on the same compa. It was a compa called Cleveland, which is a building, right? And our bunks were right next to each other. So we used to chop it up. Now, remember, this guy's very quiet. He's quiet to the point that he actually had like a different type of demeanor, psychopath type of demeanor. Like his eyes, there was a lot of sadness and hatred behind his eyes. There was a lot going on. And I remember one day he had a name. They called him Chucky from San Jose, right? And what stood out to me the most, he was from East Side San Jose, not a particular vaudeville, just East Side San Jose. And what stuck out to me was he had a tattoos on the back of his arms. And instead of, you know, back in the days, I was a pretty, it was, you would see the tattoo a lot. It was a pretty popular tattoo for the raza, north and south. It was brown pride, right? And he actually had, instead of it saying brown pride, it said brawn pride. I'll never forget it. I don't know how they put the fucking A instead of an O, but it is what it was. I said, well, fuck it. You can always tell everyone you're strong and you're proud of it. But we got to chopping it up. I brought him a little bit out of his shell. And this man was telling me a whole bunch of different stuff about his family, about his friends and whatever. So one day I was like, hey, bro, what are you locked up for? You know, and why it was much different. You didn't check people's paperwork, man. You pretty much assumed they didn't have a weird case because the administration knew not to put weirdos with motherfuckers that will stab you, right? So we got to talking. I was like, yeah, bro, what are you in it for? And he opened up to me and his story was a trip. I've told his story before in the past, but this man's brother, it's kind of the same thing that's happening with this dude, Luis Enrique, right? This man's brother was killed by an Asian gang member, an innocent kid, young, not involved in gangs, just happened to be playing in the front yard, a civilian, a regular child, right? And there was a shootout between rival gang members, Asians, in the city of San Jose, and his brother lost his life. He was hit by a stray bullet, right? And so this guy, my homeboy at the time, he was 13, 14 years old. He flipped out. He lost his brother. And so he tracked this man's family down and chopped up the whole family, put them in garbage bags and called the police and said, hey, come get him, right? And he was doing life as a minor, I remember. And then as soon as he turned 18, he was going to prison to go do the duration. Now he's been out. I've talked to him. I talked to him a few years ago on the phone, man. He hooked up with one of the homeboys who I fuck with out of Soho, and they actually went out to eat. I've posted pictures, man. I got pictures of him. And I was just happy that he changed his life. He's doing his family thing or whatever. But sometimes when you hurt a man's family, they lose it. And they're willing to go all out and do what they do. Now, in this man's story, Luis Enrique, right? This man lost his brother and he methodically targeted 13 people. Now, I see this clip that's out there. And these individuals, where it says the 13 victims that they are showing on social media, I could 100,000% guarantee you that those are not the exact individuals that he unalived. Someone decided to take pictures off the internet and post those as the 13 guys just for attention or to make the drama look real. But I guarantee you those are not. Those are actually mugshots used from several different articles and different individuals incarcerated and made into look like those were the 13 victims. But the story behind it is true. This man is incarcerated, locked up behind killing 13 different gang members. You know, he had, whether it was a number in his mind or these were actually dudes that were involved, this man was not stopping. And the methodical ways of thinking, he didn't just crash out and go from house to house going crazy because he would have got caught up. This man thought it out. He utilized social media. He utilized people, women, whatever he could to get these individuals. And it wasn't like he pulled up on them and killed all 13 in one shot. It was, he picked off one after another. Now, I remember back in the days, and I can't speak really too much on this. I could just give you the roundabout of the story, right? Because I don't want to get people caught up. But I remember there was an individual from a rival gang. And it's pretty treacherous. It's pretty with the program, right? And I knew enough to know enough that this dude was going to target anyone he knew had influence. Now, I'm not going to sit there and say I was a shot caller like Wes Watson or any of that bullshit. But I had a lot of homeboys that fucked with me because I was in YA, because I went down south, because I was in prison. You know, I had a lot of homeboys that I could influence, right? And I was doing it in the total negative because I was an asshole and all I cared about was looking cool and the gang fucking seeing me for what I felt I was worth, right? So I would influence a lot of people. Not to say they all listened, but some did. And so I knew that this dude was gamed up. He knew enough that he would make me a target. And this dude was hitting homeboys left and right. He had put out something out there. If you were from Dead End, if you were from my neighborhood, that you was a target, right? Especially if he thought you had influence or were somebody. So I was on my shit. I'm not going to lie. Everywhere I went, I was strapped up. I was on my toes. I was looking around because this motherfucker wasn't no joke. See, when you know someone's no joke, you have to be on your shit. That's one thing about gamers always trips me out, especially on the internet and all this shit. When people are talking, oh, they're suckers. You know, I see it all the time with like that dude Neil Dazad. All chaps, all Northenials are suckers. They're all scary. Ain't none of them with the big bro. If you don't shut the fuck up, if you don't stop it, that's like a Northenial saying all Southsiders, they ain't with the program. They're all hiding in their houses up north. If you don't fucking stop it, bro. Stop lying already. You're making yourself look stupid, not cool. There's hitters from everywhere. I learned that a long time ago. And the respect factor is really given amongst gangs, man, that you know are with the program. That's why I respect like dudes like BFD. He knows what it is. He might not like Southerners, man, but he knows that there's some hitters up out of there. So does Thumps. Them dudes, they really know what time it is. They're not scared of dudes. They're willing to get off where they're mad at, but they know it. Not everyone's an easy fucking win or a sucker, right? And the same thing happens with Southerners. People like Young Dopey, people like Cornell, people like that are well respected in the game, rappers, whatever their lifestyle, mainly just straight up gang members. Any real one who's been locked up knows exactly what time it is with the North, right? So this dude was a hitter, and I knew what was up with them. And I'm not gonna lie, man, he almost had me. That motherfucker almost had me. We were fucking with the same chick. She was from LA, right? I started killing that shit. I was giving her the time of her life. But he also was doing his thing. Trip out the whole time. I knew she fucked with him. So my whole thing was to get him in a compromising situation. And him and her were going to have to go, right? Just based on he was doing the exact same thing. Crazy minds think alike, right? Thing was, before I could jump the gun, he almost jumped the gun. He almost had me. And I recognized and I felt it. But like I said in the beginning of this video, not everyone has it in them to always do that. And sometimes you respect an individual enough, or you respect not getting locked up forever enough to understand that you know, when it comes crunch time, you might not be ready to crunch. Thank God he wasn't ready to crunch that day because he was a crunchy motherfucker, right? And he actually called me on the phone. Didn't know how he got my number, of course, through the chick, and was like, bro, I'm gonna give you a pass this time, motherfucker. I could have had you tonight. And I was gonna go to her pad and he was gonna be there and waiting. So, man, hey, things can happen. Now, will this man suffer karma? I'm sure. You know, there's a lot of those dudes, even if they were or weren't involved in his brother's death, you know, they have family members that are hurt. They have homeboys that are hurt, and the shit just keeps going round and round and round. This man was not playing. He lost his brother, and he made sure that everybody felt the repercussions for that. It's just a crazy story. If you want to look into it, look into Luis Enrique Vargas, man. A man incarcerated for unaliving, hunting down, and executing 13 different members of a gang on behalf of the loss of his brother. It's fucking wild. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I truly believe in, and that's the betterment of all people. I got a banger video coming up on the collective clips. If you're not over there, if you've unsubscribed or whatever you've done, you might want to go over there, man, because this is a true story based on a true story. This video is sponsored by Vario Liquors in Turlock, California. If you ever are in the Turlock area, the Central Valley, the 209, make sure you pull up to the Vario and get you something cold to drink and show respect. Also, by Sticks and Stone Yard Service out there in Tucson, Arizona. Google Sticks and Stone's Yard Service. If you need a quote and your yard to get handled, and I'm sure he's got you covered like a state blanket, itchy, better warm. And let that be